Welcome, everybody, to the Nuggets of Gold podcast. Today, we are doing a Justin Fields breakdown, and we're also going to have a Trey Lance breakdown and hopefully a Mac Jones one as well before the draft. But today, we're going to be talking about Fields. So, Ricky, I'll let you start it off, man. What do you think about Justin Fields just as an overall prospect, and where do you think he should be drafted?
I love Justin Fields both as a prospect, as an immediate starter, or even someone who sits on the bench for a year and develops a little bit. I think he can do both. I think obviously sitting on the bench and developing for a year would be beneficial to any NFL quarterback. As an athlete, though, I think he's ready to come in now and play with NFL bodies. I think he has unbelievable arm talent. I think you see a lack of consistency throughout his tape. Part of that could be the coaching system, the difference of coming into Ohio State and only playing there for 2 years and having like kind of a revolving door of guys. I think there's a lot that you could attribute that to, but I think as Justin Fields continues to develop, he will be a great quarterback for the future.
No, I agree with you, and I like that you bring up that if he ended up backing up for a year, that would help him a lot, because I think a lot of people don't expect that ever from rookie quarterbacks now, but it's definitely something that can help their development a lot. I'll just go over my summary of Fields as a prospect. The first thing that stands out to me is Fields' motion looks unnatural in the pocket, but when he's on the run, he looks comfortable and it looks easy for him. He can throw outside the numbers and really carve up defenses that way. He throws with a ton of velocity and does this by driving the ball with his strong legs. He's hard to tackle, and so much of Ohio State's offense came through his zone reads and extended plays that he was one who made it happen. On the negative side, he doesn't look very comfortable in the pocket. That's probably my biggest issue with him. And then also in my summary, I wrote that he stares down receivers, takes a long time to get the ball out, and the game looks too fast for him at times. The more he plays, the better I think he'll get. But going back to that staring down receiver stuff, I think that's a lot of just the way that Ohio State ran their offense, because a lot of the route combinations are wide receiver options. And so he's checking over to, say he's checking to the left side of the field, and he's checking if his receiver is going to run a comeback or a corner. He doesn't want to throw the corner before the guy comes, because if he runs a comeback and he throws a corner, that's a pick. And so a lot of times you have to see him wait, and it kind of forced him to look like that. So I think that if we saw him, and obviously this is the 49ers channel, if we saw him in a Shanahan offense, I think that he has the ability to go through those progressions a lot quicker. But that's just something that he wasn't asked to do at the college level. And we'll also get into that tape a little bit here. But what do you think of that overall evaluation of him as a player?
I think your evaluation is pretty spot on. I think honestly we can attribute some of the timing stuff too to the lack of a preseason that these guys had to deal with this year with coronavirus. I mean, last year the film was a little bit different, and the end of the season, Justin Fields started to align more with his tape from the year before, when he had the huge touchdown interception ratio. So I think a lot of that could have been the timing, and I agree with you. Ohio State runs a very college style offense, and I think we've seen that translate with their quarterbacks that have gone to the NFL. But I will also say Justin Fields is nothing like the previous Ohio State quarterbacks that we've seen. Like, he has the arm talent of Dwayne Haskins. He has the feet of Terrell Pryor, Cardale Jones, whoever we want to put, or I guess not Cardale Jones. He was more of an arm talent guy too, but Braxton Miller, Terrell Pryor, those types of guys. He has that foot talent. He has the arm talent of Dwayne Haskins or Cardale Jones type. So we've never seen a guy with like the hybrid. And also he has a much stronger work ethic than Cardale Jones, if we're going to make that comparison, just because
or Haskins
or Dwayne Haskins. Exactly. We saw this kid come in as one of the top recruits, and he battled in Georgia, didn't win the job, and he probably should have won the job. Ended up going to Ohio State, won the job there, played absolutely amazing, and now we're looking back at him as a top 3 pick. So he came in as one of the top guys, played in 2 different systems, and is still a top guy. So I think that speaks a lot to his resilience.
Yeah, so let's start getting to the film, and we're gonna go over the Indiana film first, and just some clips we like. We'll talk about those, and then same thing with the Clemson film. Kind of all right, here's like a bottom tier game, and here's like some of probably his best performance in college football. Probably the best performance we've ever seen from Fields is in that first half of the Clemson college football playoff game. So we're gonna get into those 2 games right now. All righty, so here's the Justin Fields versus Indiana film right here. And we're using this film from 2 different YouTube accounts, so I'll make sure to link their accounts in the description. But let's get into the film. We're going to see Justin Fields start this game out with a strike, and it's a pretty easy concept. He just looks off the safety, sees, there's opening in the middle of the field, and right across the middle, boom, big play, goes for about 50 or so yards. Ricky, what do you like about this play?
I really like how he dissects the field and the coverage. He finds a linebacker guarding his slot receiver with safety help over the top, but he knows the safety also has to worry about his outside receiver pushing vertical. So he attacks that, and he sees the safety bail, so he just takes advantage of the linebacker on his faster slot receiver.
Yeah, so definitely a good way to start the game out right here. And this is going to be an interesting game for Fields, a very inconsistent game, but we see that top end play right here. And then we'll go over the next one right here, just an easy touchdown really for him, just throws the ball across the middle, and his arm talent's going to get that done every time. And this is going to be the first interception of the game where he just does not read the safety at all, throws it right to him, not anticipating that guy at all. Ricky, why do you think he makes this poor decision on this play?
I think he just missed his progression on this play. It's kind of tough to tell what he's seen because, like you said, he just misses the safety over the top. So if pre-snap read, he's probably thinking 3 off this look, and then still looks like it's 3. So I'm not entirely sure what he was seeing on that, but to me that looked like 3 pre-snap and then 3 again.
So then after the interception, he goes to 3 and out, and then this is the next drive, and we're gonna see him a simple incompletion here. But Rick, you had a little note on this play.
Yeah. So on this exact concept, he makes the incorrect progression and incorrect read. But what was really like nice to see, and I really enjoyed seeing, was 1 week or 2 weeks later against Michigan State, they ran this exact play, exact concept, and he was able to fix his mistake. He hit number 2 towards the middle, and he ended up breaking a bigger, longer play just because of so much running room. But it was the same exact thing, and he just got to his 3rd progression a lot quicker. So that was really great to see his development as a quarterback as the season prolonged.
Yeah, and this was a game where he just kind of looked all over the place, and you're going to see it on this play as well. Kind of extending plays, not really getting the ball out, and then an awful decision here. No reason to throw that football. It's 1st and 10 here up by 7. You have the ball at the 50-yard line. Another just kind of a bad play. And we were talking about this game that it almost looked like he was unprepared in this matchup. And one, it's COVID off season. Also, the beginning of the game, it just looks like he's not expecting to see what he's seeing. He's not expecting to get blitzed so much. But why do you think he throws this ball in this case? Because I just don't really see why he's making that move at all,
Yeah. To start off with, I will be honest, we saw this kind of concept from Ohio State too, where they fake one way, take everything one way, and then throw it back the other way. And it was successful against Clemson for a touchdown, I believe. But here you kind of see what happens when you're trying to go across the field and it's not open. And then Justin Fields just tries to extend the play and make sure that it's not like a complete loss. And that's what ends up happening is he just made a bad play even worse.
So then for this play right here, when I'm watching this play, I see, okay, you got to hit this guy right out here in the flats. He doesn't do it and takes the sack. Do you agree with me or do you disagree with me on this one?
On this one, I actually like him taking the sack on this one. I think if he tries to get the ball out, it's going to be rushed, and there's a chance that he gets it hit out of his hands by that blitzing guy or whatever. So honestly, here I like him just taking the sack. I'm not sure if it's his right guard or right tackle, but someone just completely whiffs. And as a quarterback, you can't expect your guy to not get a hand on the guy. So that one, I'm okay with him taking the sack and just avoiding a turnover there.
Yeah, especially in a game where it just seems like he's kind of all over the place. It's all right to hang on to him every once in a while. Not the worst thing in the world, but definitely was interesting that he just didn't let the ball out, let it rip real quick. And this is kind of where he starts feeling a little bit of a rhythm in this game. And then you see pressure coming all over, but still able to get away from it, throw the ball away. And I think this is a really underrated aspect of his game is he just gets completely thumped twice and is able to stay in the pocket and then just throw the ball away. Not a positive gain, but that play can be a lot worse. And his just physical abilities are able to not allow that to happen. And then let's see a 3rd and 6 right here. Not a lot of pressure. Easy pickup right there. That he just goes through his progressions, finds his guy, boom, right at the sticks, 1st down.
When he's throwing to guys like Olave, who he's really developed some timing with, and Wilson, his throwing motion and everything, it just looks a lot more in sync than when he's throwing to other guys on his team who doesn't look like he has as many reps with. So I will say that when he throws to his guys, he looks like he knows exactly where to put it. But when it's these younger guys or guys he doesn't necessarily have all the reps with, it looks a little bit more unnatural, and he uses athleticism to get away with things. But I mean, just look at that strike to Olave, like perfect time, perfect placement.
Also, this is an absolute rocket. He's throwing from the opposite hash. College hashes are obviously a lot wider, and he's throwing over a guy into the sideline. Great two ball on that play. And I think you're right with that, because a lot of times we'll see the receivers play the ball kind of in an odd way where you would expect them not to play it that way. And I think Fields is also not expecting that to happen. Nice pickup right there by him. So one of my biggest issues with Fields has just been his pocket presence. And right here, we're going to see it. He just looks like he doesn't really know where to go. He steps up, kind of just a lot of unnecessary steps taken where he's just kind of running all over the place. And it's not like this can't get better, but this is definitely an area where I think he needs to improve at. Ricky, do you think I'm right on that, or do you think that I'm not quite on it?
No, I think you were perfect on that one. And if you honestly look at it, look where his O linemen are. He should have ran the other way. There's more open field to the left. So I get that's not where his receivers are and not where he's trying to throw the ball. There's a ton of open space, and he has numbers on that side. But instead, he scrambles to try and continue and extend the play, which is you'd like to see out of a quarterback. But when you have a guy who's this athletic and can make this play on the run, I don't know. I'd like to see him go to open field a little bit more rather than scramble and look for something that's that heavily contested.
So we'll kind of just play through the end of this 2-minute drill here, because this is where he starts to get a rhythm in this game. And you just see quick passes, getting the ball out fast, and that's where he's really excelling. We're going to see a pass to, I think it's Olave right here. Easy slant that gets him down to the 7-8 yard line. And then we're going to just see kind of the abilities of Justin Fields right here, where drops back, gets him initial pressure, and just rolls out, and he's going to run in for a touchdown. But this is just a spot where he just looks good in this play, and he looks really composed. The drive looks simple to him. I think it's just because, hey, man, go out there, dink, 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 and let's just play a fast-paced offense where it's just not super complex. And this is what I was talking about, where he looks like, I guess, almost like unnatural at times, where he's a little bit uncomfortable. When they just ask him, go out there, let it rip, go through it, get the ball out quick, it seems like that's where he excels the most. And in this game, especially in the 2-minute drill, is where he looks the most comfortable, because that game, he looks the best right there that you see him.
So, yeah, I agree, Matt. Most of the time that we see Justin Fields play, he looks extraordinarily unnatural. But in this particular play, I think he looks like very natural. From what I've seen from quarterback practice and quarterback film, this is a very common quarterback escape, especially against the bigger D linemen. Just turning around, sinking the hips, getting around and running. And he looks perfectly comfortable. No, he looks like he knows exactly what he wants to do, and he executes it perfectly. So I kind of think this goes to the rhythm thing that we were talking about, is when you see him get in the rhythm of a 2-minute drill and he's just out there playing ball, it's just what he does.
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about. It's not even like, I don't even know if you could go as far as saying that he looks unnatural a lot, but he doesn't consistently look like he's comfortable, I feel like. And when he looks like he's comfortable, he looks unstoppable in those moments. But it's when he kind of like looks like, all right, like I don't know what to do. I kind of like panic a little bit. And that's where I think you can just tell the most of that kind of like him like feeling the game that way in his pocket presence. So in the 2-minute drill, there's not a guy initially open, I'm going to roll out, I'm going to score a touchdown, pretty much is his mentality on this one, which you love to see. So then looking into the second half here, you see him sit back in the pocket, deliver a dot, wide open wide receiver on this one, but just kind of gets the second half off like he ended the first. And then he's going to cap off this drive with a beautiful touchdown throw right over the defender, where only his guy has a chance to get it, and he just plays the mismatch well on that one. But is this kind of more of that comfortable spot that you're seeing Fields in when he's really in that rhythm, Ricky?
Exactly. I mean, I like to think of him as kind of like a sharpshooter in basketball. When he gets hot, there's not much you can do to stop him regardless. I mean, look at this. He takes the zone read all on his own, makes a man miss, gets 12 or so yards. And then on this play, and this is again the familiarity thing that we were talking about. He finds that linebacker mismatch and he throws it to Wilson again. I'm pretty sure that's the same exact matchup that he took advantage of last time. And he just puts the ball in perfect spot.
So Now he's up 21 points, 3rd and 9, and this is where we're going to see a little bit of some hero ball where he's about to go down, throws the ball, and that reminds me of a Jameis Winston preseason interception. I don't know if you remember that one, Ricky, where he's throwing to the end zone and just throws the ball up like that, where there's no reason for him to let that ball go. And this is one of the where people get frustrated with Fields. I think a lot of times it's in these situations. And I think that's pretty fair. I mean, there's no reason to ever throw that football.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You bring up Jameis Winston. I think of Baker Mayfield a little bit. In times, he just tries to make plays that aren't there. Earlier, we saw him take a sack and not jeopardize a turnover. But then on that play, he's out of the pocket. He could have just thrown it to the sideline, like gotten just an incomplete, punt the ball away. He could have taken a sack for like a 1 or 2 yard loss. He could run it, try and pick it up on his feet. But you see him make a bad play because he doesn't really know what he's doing or what he wants to do.
That's going to be probably my biggest concern with him is just how does he adapt to this decision making? How does he get the ball out quicker when he moves into a different offense? Because we're not going to see him run this Ohio State offense in the NFL. At least I don't expect that because it appears he will go number 2 or number 3 overall. But I don't know, man. What else? How do you think we should kind of look back on this Indiana game? Do you think it's just one of those games where because you can see the talent, you can absolutely see the talent, but they're like right there. That's a catchable ball. That's a first down in most cases. But overall, throughout this whole game, I think the main storyline of this week, especially, was where's Justin Fields' consistency? Why is he just all over the place? And I guess my question to you is, do you look at this game and you go, okay, I see what you can work with here, and I see the lack of consistency, but do you feel that this is something that he can improve at and get a lot better as his development goes on?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think you see for the rest of the season how he truly progressed because I think a lot of teams, especially two that come to mind, were Northwestern and Clemson that tried to emulate Indiana's style of pressure. I think to this point, Ohio State hadn't really been tested with like defensive schematics like this. And I think a huge thing that you're seeing right now is second half adjustments. I mean, Ohio State was handling them in the first half, and Indiana came out in the second half ready to play. They had a solid game plan. They stuck to it, and they have less turnovers than they did in the first half.
Yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for this Indiana game, but this is the last play right here where he's going to miss this open tight end. But we're going to get into the Clemson game right now, so stay tuned. All right, so now we're going to get into the Justin Fields versus Clemson, and this is definitely the best performance, but we're going to see him start out on a 3rd-and-2 quarterback run, and he's not going to pick it up. It's kind of a rough start to the game. He also fumbles on this play, so immediately kind of not complete backs against the wall, but they lost to Clemson in the college football playoff the year prior, and now down 7-0. He doesn't pick up the initial first down. So after this, you're going to kind of start seeing him settle in, but right off the bat, he hits adversity, and we're going to see how he responds. So then moving on to that next drive, you see him kind of go through the progressions, sits in the pocket, waits to the last second, gets the ball out to his dude Olave, and immediate first down. And this is where we're going to kind of see him almost immediately settle in after that first drive where he doesn't pick up the 3rd-and-2, but goes through progressions, nothing there, throws to his running back, and running back gets a lot of yards. How do you like how he just kind of he hits adversity right when he starts? And I mean, we're going to see it as this game goes on, but he immediately settles in and just starts letting it roll.
I really do like that, and like we said earlier, he's a very rhythmic player. So I love seeing him first go to his guy Olave. Just he knows where he's going to be, like throws it to him real quick, and then on that check down to the running back, that's a very similar concept to pressure that we saw from Indiana. And rather than panic or freak out about it, he just sat in the pocket and handled it. So I really love to see that maturity and development.
Also, this throw right here, it looks like he might have thrown a little bit off. This is a great throw when you look at it and you go, okay, there's a corner and there's a safety on this guy. He's got to get into a spot where neither of them has a chance. He throws the ball into a perfect location. Great catch by Wilson as well, but this is a really, really good throw. And this ball is going about 55 yards or so in the air on the sideline, probably about 45 yards. But great throw and great catch right here.
Personally, I honestly like the placement of that ball better than where the receiver was running. I think the receiver should have been drifting, maybe not wide to get him close to sideline, but he should have started moving away from that safety, because I think Justin Fields saw that safety, was unsure about his depth and how fast he would get there, and didn't want to jeopardize the health of his receiver by putting a ball out over the middle. So he throws it towards the sideline away from everyone, and I think it's the perfect spot for it.
And then on 3rd and goal here, we're going to see some more arm strength where he just slings this one in here, pocket collapses, he gets drilled, lets it rip, gets the touchdown. There's also another guy open, a lot more open in the middle of the field, but he knows his guy has a better matchup. He sees he has the advantage, and he lets it rip, puts the ball in a fantastic spot where only his tight end is able to catch it. And you'll see it right here. We kind of talked about his pocket presence being questionable. He does a fantastic job here. He waits last second, lets it rip, and then a good ball as well.
One problem with Justin Fields on the film that we saw a lot of, and we weren't sure if it was so much Fields as much as the system, is he seems to throw the ball about half a second late on a lot of his schemes. And that could just be the coaching and how his feel for the game is too, just confirming that guy's running that route. Right there, you see he could have gotten the ball out a little bit earlier, but he allows his tight end to use his big frame and perfect spot.
He almost lets his tight end set up a little bit more, which could be the difference in completing that ball and not completing it. But as the rest of this first half goes, you're just going to see him just move the ball down the field really well, and he gets into an amazing rhythm here. And really, wills his team to victory. We're going to see another deep ball, and I know he misses this one right here. But good spot as well. Little overthrown. I mean, that's going to happen with the deep ball. You see how many times guys miss those. Now, typically, he's hitting almost every one of those. So this play right here looks a little similar to a Kyle Shanahan type play where he's rolling out, going to have to throw on the run. Nothing there, so he's going to go and pick up a lot of yards, lay down the shoulder. I would assume that Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers front office, loves to see that physicality right there because that's something that they value quite a bit. But, I mean, that's more of what we're going to see him do with Kyle where he's rolling out. He could have hit that dude, number 11 right there, but chooses not to, and it's the right decision because he ends up picking more yards than that receiver probably would have got. But what do you think about this kind of physicality? Because I know that some people don't like it and some people want to knock it. I think that if the Niners take him at 3, they're going to tell him, hey, don't take this hit, don't take that one. But that natural toughness, I think, is something that you don't see in every quarterback, and I think that's something that at least needs to be brought up, especially with him potentially being a quarterback under Kyle Shanahan. Do you feel like that's the case, Ricky?
Yeah, I feel like he's an extraordinarily tough quarterback. I would like to see him slide a little bit more, especially when he gets to the next level to avoid some of these bigger hits, because they will take a toll over a long period of time. But I mean, just to also bring up his development progression over the season, we saw a similar play against Indiana, and when he scrambled for more time, he ended up trying to force a ball to the middle of the field, and just like he could have forced that ball to number 11 on that play, but instead he chose to just run the ball. He was confident with himself, and he just made the right decision and executed it.
When he knows what he wants to do, he looks so much more comfortable. And he looks like a completely different player. I mean, look at this. Tonight in this game, he starts out at 11 of 12 for 163, 2 touchdowns. And you see how well he's doing. And that's not even counting in the run game because he's looked great on the run game as well. But here's a 3rd and 13, and they bring some pressure. Offensive line picks it up really well. You're going to see him break away and get drilled on this one. This is the rib injury. So I think 47 actually gets ejected for targeting in this one. So we're going to see Fields roll out on this one after coming back in the game and immediately dot perfect timing to Olave again. And this is just another example of him just kind of picking apart Clemson. But Ricky, what do you like about this play? And what do you think about him just showing his guys that he's going to stay in the game no matter what?
I mean, I think we've seen it throughout his career. I said it from the start. He's just a resilient player. He doesn't let things affect him super bad. And he's hurt. I mean, that's tough. Like, you can see the pain he's in, but he just knows what to do. And even on this play, I love how, and this kind of, I think, goes back to the scheme and everything we were talking about earlier with him being a half second late. He's not a half second late there. He can't afford to be a half second late there. He puts the ball in the perfect spot, perfect time, and even injured, just fully executes.
Final drive of the second half, 3rd and 10. You're going to see him sit back in the pocket. They bring some pressure, lets it rip across the middle, picks it up, and the time's winding down, but he's just cruising at this point. The rib injury is not affecting him. He's definitely feeling it, but he still looks great out there.
And I think this really speaks to what we talked about, him being a rhythmic player. Like, this is the second tape in a row where we've seen him just execute a perfect 2-minute drill. And either at the end of the half or the end of the game, like, he is a very confident player. And I think this just speaks to his preparation and what Ohio State is designed to do. So this 2-minute drill, it seems like he's had a lot of practice. He knows where he wants to go, and he just executes.
And then he finishes off this almost flawless first half with just an absolute dart across the middle. And this will be the last play we show, but just, I don't know, man. How do you think about this drive? Because I think, I mean, you brought up how he just looked so good in the 2-minute, but the confidence, like, look at that throw. That's something that you see every quarterback make.
That is an extraordinarily tight window throw that we haven't even seen a lot of these other quarterbacks who are ranked just right there with him, if not higher than him, make. So I think this kind of speaks to how his game can translate to the NFL.
He has the ability to put the ball in any spot.
Exactly.
And he does it at a very high level and a very high rate. So that's going to do it for the film part of this video, but we're going to kind of recap it and talk about how he fits in Kyle's offense right after that, and then that's going to do it for this film breakdown. So after watching that film, I think most of the stuff that we kind of believe about Justin Fields is going to be the same. You know, we think this is a guy that if he's on, he looks like he's a clear number one pick. I would have to say, I think in many NFL drafts, I think he would be the number one pick. I actually think that it's pretty special that he's going to potentially be available to the 49ers at 3. And we know how much they traded up and to move in that spot. But I think that them taking Justin Fields at 3 will be absolutely worth it. I think that's going to be the pick. My number for Justin Fields being selected is kind of hovered around 65% for most of this draft process. But I'll let you kind of get into a little bit, Ricky, and then I'll kind of talk about, based off what you're saying. But what do you think just about his fit with Kyle Shanahan?
I think his fit with Kyle would be extraordinary. I think he's been asked to run a lot more complex of a system just because they don't have the athletes that the Niners have. If you look at the Niners, they have mismatches all across the field. And if you saw in the film, Justin Fields was very good at identifying the mismatches, taking advantage of the mismatches, and putting the ball in the place where to maximize those mismatches. So I think that could be really beneficial. We see him struggle a little bit with weird pressures and stuff like that, but you can't really run that against the Niners, because if you run that against the Niners and you get caught in a run, you're going to be in trouble. The Niners will take advantage of it, and they will get 7 to 20 yards on a carry just because you're in the wrong scheme, because you're trying to bring some complex blitz where they're just going to run it down your throat. So I think the Niners and Justin Fields would be a perfect fit and really allow him to maximize his capabilities, maximize his feel for the game, and just allow him to be the best version of himself.
Yeah, and I think to kind of add to that, you start talking about, like, where does he struggle? Oh, it's like the pocket presence. It's almost like the in play where things kind of look a little bit weird, like almost like he looks a little uncomfortable. Like, that was the biggest, I think the word we use most when kind of talking about what he needs to work on is just not looking uncomfortable. Because if he's comfortable, he looks unstoppable. I really believe that. He looks like a top 5 quarterback when he's really on. And what I guess my big thing about, like, why I bring that up is because with Kyle, a lot of the decision making is pre-snap. And if you kind of dive into, like, how this offense works, a lot of it is, hey, we're going to go up to the line of scrimmage. You have 2 play calls. You pick one based on what the defense looks like. That stuff is what Fields is going to flourish at. We've seen kind of some of the test numbers, I guess, and I don't think everything, bases down to a test. But when you kind of start hearing what other NFL executives say about him, scouts and even people on his coaching staff, super hard worker, incredibly intelligent, and he knows how to prepare really, really well. And that side of football for Justin Fields is going to be more important with a guy like Kyle, which I think might sound kind of weird because, of course, like, you can't be a slow processor and be good in the NFL. But his ability to process before the snap is going to be it's going to come at a very high level. And I think that's why overall, that's why you're going to see him become the pick, because he's accurate to every part of the field. You're going to see him open up the offense for Brandon Ayuk downfield, which I think Brandon Ayuk will have the biggest, I guess, like, surge with Justin Fields at quarterback. Then you have that whole run game you brought up where defenses can't just, bring in weird stuff, because if they do that, it's going to be a quick, hey, audible to this. We're going to have this play. Oh, look, there's 5, there's 7, there's these running plays. And also, to go back to the pocket stuff, so much of Kyle's offense is on the move, where when he starts feeling it and he rolls out, hits a guy on a comeback, hits a guy on a corner, he's going to look a lot better in the pocket because we've seen him do that in college. Dink, dink, he hits those 2 first hits, and then it's on. And that's what I think we're going to see. Also, another thing just to kind of bring about Kyle's offenses are so good in the third quarter. He almost scores a touchdown. When he had a healthy group in 2019, they almost scored a touchdown every single first drive of the third quarter. I think it was up until like week 11. There was one drive that they hadn't done it. It was some number like that. That's going to help Fields feel so more comfortable in the pocket, where they're going to just utilize him, and he's going to be able to win off of his talent, off of his accuracy, off of his running ability. And it's really just going to be we're going to treat this dude not like a prototypical pocket quarterback, but like an athlete who has a cannon who gets the ball to the other weapons. And I think that's where it gets really exciting. And that's why I'm most excited for this. But anything else you wanted to add before we kind of take off here?
Yeah, and kind of just adding to what you said, we saw him progress and mature as a player. In the beginning of the season, it was pretty much just Olave and Wilson that he was getting the ball to. By the end of it in the championship, I think you said he had 3 touchdowns to the tight ends. So that's a huge bonus for that 49er offense. So seeing him get the ball to a bunch of different receivers and tight ends and running backs, I think is super great to see. I also like how in Kyle's offense, he will have, like you said, he will have to make pre-snap reads, but he's just going to go. It's not going to be thinking about things. It's just going and using his feel. So I think that would really maximize his skill set.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's going to wrap it up for today's video, but it was pretty fun going over Field stuff. I think he's a very good fit in Kyle's offense. I'm also a Trey Lance guy. These are my 2 dudes. Will not be upset at all if the pick is Justin Fields or Trey Lance. But the Fields film really gets you hyped up because you can see that he makes plays that only the top end quarterbacks are able to make. And that's why I just think that he can be really special at the next level. And especially he can be really special learning under a guy like Kyle Shanahan and really understanding that system where in 3 years, we might view him as a very, very top end quarterback in the NFL. So I'm all for the pick. And it was fun going over his film. If you're listening and this is the first time you've kind of went over one of our film reviews, let us know what you think. Let us know about like our evaluation of the guy. And if you have any advice or any things you wanted to add, make sure to let us know. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.